Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me once again. I came out, bit of a confession here, I came out last Friday to try and record this vlog but didn't really get anywhere with it. And the main reason for that was that last week in fact was the school holidays here in this region, and there were a lot of families out with kids and dogs wandering around my local park. And I just felt like while I was out I just could not find a composition without people in it, and that's not really what I was looking for. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind interacting and saying hello to people when I see them out and about in the landscape. That's not the issue. The issue is there are so many people out during the holidays that it's impossible to find a shot sometimes. So I wasn't able to actually record anything or take any photos last Friday. So I've come back out to redo it today. The main reason that I've come out is because I've bought a new lens. I say a new lens, I've bought a used lens, and it's a lens that I've bought to replace the one I broke last month back in January when I was out in the Malvern Hills. So essentially it's exactly the same thing, although it's a different make and model, and it may be a little bit better than the previous lens. However, it is just about the same sort of thing. I'll explain a little bit more of that in just a little while. But in the meantime, why don't you give this video a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to move on now and see if I can find a composition where I can break open that new lens that I've got. So the lens is a Canon EF 75 to 300mm f4 to f5.6 lens. And the reason I've bought it is to replace the Tamron 70 to 300mm lens f4 to f5.6. So essentially, apart from that extra 5mm at the widest end, which doesn't really make a massive difference, it's essentially the same lens. However, I'm thinking that with this new lens being the Canon version of the lens, it may have a very slightly better image quality, although that doesn't really matter in this situation. I'm not really that bothered about whether the image quality is any better or not, because I was very happy with the Tamron lens image quality. So that's not really a big issue. Like I say, it's essentially exactly the same lens, only a Canon version of the lens. And the reason I bought it, like I said, was because I damaged the Tamron 70 to 300mm lens back in January when I was out in the Malvern Hills. So today I'm out testing out the Canon version of that lens, and I just really want to take a few shots, see if I can capture anything different, unusual, something I haven't captured before, but just using the same lens again. So you may be able to see that I've got the tripod set up just behind me just here, but in the distance just there you've got this tree here in the sort of middle distance, and then a little bit further back, in fact quite some way further back, there's another group of trees just there, and I want to try and get as close as I can to these trees, and in particular this one on the very end here. It will be on the right of the scene as you look at it when I'm taking the image, but yeah, I want to try and capture this tree all on its own, and it just seems to be standing slightly away from the rest of the trees in the landscape, and it looks perfect. But obviously from where I'm standing I can't actually walk over this ground. I probably could, but I don't want to walk over this ground to try and get to a little bit closer to that tree. So here I'm going to need to use the 70 to 300mm lens, or 75 to 300mm should I say. But obviously I'm going to have to be shooting probably at 300mm to get that very small tree in the distance quite large in the frame. So I'm going to give it a try here, set up the camera and put the lens on and see if I can capture this image. I don't know yet whether it's going to be a landscape image or a portrait image. I suppose I'll have to decide that once I've got it in the frame. So here goes. Well, that was very interesting. It always pays to keep looking and taking a second and third look at what you're trying to compose in the image, because I've just noticed that there was some very different images there that I hadn't expected. First of all, I tried that first shot of the tree on its own in landscape orientation at 300 millimeters, and what I discovered was that there was no way I could take a photo of that tree all on its own without bringing some more of the other trees into the image, and that made it look a little bit too busy. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. So by flipping my camera into portrait orientation and recomposing the shot, it made it a lot easier. So you've probably seen the portrait orientation shot of that tree as it is. But the one thing I noticed while I was standing there with my lens zoomed right into 300mm was there was another image there. That same group of trees towards the far end, the left-hand end of the group of trees, there were two trees that were kind of leaning over towards one another and almost creating like a dome effect between the two trees. But also then there was a gap in the middle of those two trees where there was a third tree without any foliage on it at all, that I hadn't noticed earlier, and that composition looked quite nice as well, just over 200 millimeters I think it was in the end. But I've managed to capture both of those trees focused on the tree in the middle of those two, and I think that was a very interesting image. If it's any good, you'll also have seen that image by now as well. But now I'm going to head off and see if I can find my next composition somewhere along this path. I love the spontaneity of just being able to go out without any preconceived ideas of what you're looking for and capture shots as you pick them up and see them in the landscape. It means that you kind of come away with images which can sometimes be a lot more interesting and a lot more kind of cool and high quality and high contrast and whatever else, because you're sort of just spotting them in the moment as they happen. So you're not really thinking, I'm going to take a picture of this tree or that tree, or I'm going to go and follow this path and do this and that and the other. So you don't come away with images that you know that you're going to get. You always come away with something that's something completely different. And there's one just here. I don't know how well you can see it. Just along here behind me, somewhere over here, there is a silver birch tree, just a sapling all on its own, stood out in the middle of this bit of heathland. And I can't quite get too close to it. So again, I'm going to have to use the 75 to 300mm lens to get in close to that. I don't know whether it will be fully zoomed into 300mm. This one may only be somewhere around about 150 or 180mm, but it looks fairly good, and it's just going to be one single sapling, slightly mature sapling of a silver birch tree growing up just here all on its own. So I'll show you the image now. It's probably going to be portrait orientation as well. So I hope you like that image. I've got a bit of an issue now because my wireless microphone has just run out of juice again. So obviously I've had to replace it with the shotgun microphone, which is causing a bit of an issue in this wind, quite honestly. So I hope you can hear me. But I'm going to carry on and see if I can find another couple of images along the way. I'm actually heading back now towards the entrance to this park, and I'm on my way home. So there's still a fair distance to go before I get to the entrance. So there's going to be at least a couple of opportunities, I think, to capture some more images with the 75 to 300mm lens. Just walking along this path here, there's a lovely tree up there just behind me. Don't know how well you can see that one there. And I've walked past it several times in the past and never really considered it, because I've always seen it from different angles or from closer to it, and it's quite obvious that from here I can walk much closer to it and go and take a nice shot of that image right up close. But I actually find that from this particular position, I quite like all of the scene around it as well. So I've decided I kind of want to get a shot here of that tree. Again, I'm thinking it may well be portrait orientation with the 75 to 300mm lens, and potentially probably about 200 millimeters. But let's see how this one goes, eh? That's just about it for today's vlog then, folks. I've discovered with the last couple of images that I've just taken that as I'm trying to take them, I can't really get them in really sharp focus with that lens. Now, that's not really a massive problem because I think that I can overcome that and sharpen those images up in post-production afterwards. But what really is the problem is that I think the lens may need to be recalibrated. Now, to do that, I'm probably going to have to consult with Professor YouTube all about how to do that, and maybe I can do that myself. So it's not really a bust, this photo shoot. The way to look at it is I've been out for a nice walk this afternoon and got some decent images that I'm happy with, and also I'll probably work out how to calibrate lenses for the first time, and in the future I can improve my photography even further by making sure that lenses are properly calibrated in the first place. So there are some positives to take from this. I'm disappointed that the lens isn't that sharp at the moment. However, I think the outcome is going to be quite good anyway for this. So I'm glad that I did this little walk and tested that lens. Like I said, that's it for the vlog for today. So if you've enjoyed today's vlog, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, and also please remember to subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.